Hi, Choose Life Nation. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to another episode of the Rebound Coach Live. I'm Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach from thereboundcoach.com, and I am super excited to see you tonight. If this is your first time sharing virtual space with me, I want to say thank you. There are a whole lot of places on the interwebs to spend time. And I am so glad that you found yourself here with us today. If you're not sure who I am and it's your first time and you're like, what exactly is a rebound coach and why are you talking to me? What is this about? I'm a life coach and I help people get unstuck. Tonight's topic is all about how to get unstuck. If you've ever found yourself just going through life and like that's all we're doing, we're clicking through days and there's no life in your days and you just feel drained or bored or uneasy, tonight is the episode for you. But if you're like, what do you do? A little bit about me in a few minutes. Here's the headline, y'all. So I was married 10 years to a man who wanted me dead. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for someone like me who was raised in a godly home. I had Christian parents that were married for a lifetime and love God, love each other, and we're a good example for as parents, as married people. At the same time, I was molested from the time I was 8 to the time I was 16. And that radically affects how you see yourself in a household of faith, how you relate to God. And for me, with the opposite sex, how I related to men. So fast forward, I met the man that I married and eventually divorced. And there were definitely red flags. There's folks that say they had no red flags before they met their abuser and everything was beautiful and things switched over. Not the case for me. There are definitely red flags. As a believing woman, as a praying woman, I believed that God's answer was yes. And because of that, I believed whatever came, we'd outlast it, we'd overcome it. God would swoop in and save the day and change things. And those things did happen, just not in the way that I had anticipated. So we got into this cycle of what I call coping and crisis. So there was lots of abuse happening, mostly emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, financial abuse, that kind of thing, religious abuse. And so we'd get into this dance where I was coping. You don't get to happy. You're never satisfied. You're kind of walking on these eggshells, hoping not to upset him. And somehow you still blow up the landmine and upset him. And you do your best to follow the rules and please and submit to your husband. But the rules keep changing and things seem to be getting worse and worse as the years go on, even though you're doing your best to behave, to be a good wife, and to follow the rules that you were taught would bring you marital success, and the rules, frankly, that you were taught to please God with. And so we did that for a while, do that coping survival dance. And then there's a crisis. No matter how careful you are, no matter what you do to protect the house of cards you've built, there's some sort of crisis. And for my household, that was mental illness episodes, and mental health crisis. And those kinds of breakdowns, if you've ever loved someone who suffered from a mental illness, it really disturbs your entire household rhythm, to put it lightly. And so those were the kinds of crises that would just blow things up. And we did that dance, better part of 9 years, almost 10 years, up to end of 2019, beginning of 2020. We had the biggest crisis of all. He was a serial adulterer throughout the entire marriage, but at that point, he actually left for another woman. And I found out maybe a day or so after, he and that woman had been plotting my murder for months by the time I found out about it. So if you can imagine, this is the record scratch moment where your entire life just stops and you ask all kinds of really important questions. But the biggest one, I think, for me was, how did I end up here? How is this my life? And you have to answer those questions because you don't have time to just like sit and ponder. Like, you have to keep moving, and life is happening, and you have to make decisions to keep yourself safe, to keep your children safe. And like, life be lifing. Right. I had important decisions to make, and through a series of divine events, supernatural events, not only am I alive, my children are safe and they're with me. We're growing and learning and unlearning together, and continuing, continuing. And so I could allow the identity that my ex-husband had planned for me, and quite frankly, the one I had agreed to, and in some cases, false advertised. I'll have to get into that more at another time, but I could allow that to tell me who I was, what I was allowed to do, how I was allowed to express myself as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, how I was allowed to express my faith, how many days I had left on the planet. He had a death date intended for me. He had documented such a thing. Or I could choose life. So I wrote a book out of all of that, because that's a whole lot. And I'm sure you have questions. I wrote a book. It's called I Choose Life: Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And it's not only it is a memoir. It is my story. So if you're into like Law and Order, SVU, if you like receipts, you like the whodunits, this is for you. But it's not just that. It is a lifeline and a roadmap to those of you who find yourselves in my story, who've experienced betrayal or trauma or abuse, and you'd like to rewrite your love story and change your legacy. It is, I will tell you that there's more to changing your legacy than getting out of an abusive relationship. Although that's a really, 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 really big, important step to take. There's so much more. Changing your legacy, I believe, can be a lifelong endeavor, which is not easy, but it is so worth it. I'm on that journey, and I invite those of you who have experienced betrayal, trauma, or abuse to join me. Reclaim territory in your relationship with yourself. Rewrite your love story and change your legacy. Or if you love someone, you care about someone who've experienced this book is for you. You can find more information at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these paper copies right here. I will sign it for you, write you a love note, and mail it off to you. Or if you would prefer to get a book from Amazon, or you can get an ebook copy. All that information is at thereboundcoach.com/book. Okay. Today we are talking about how to get unstuck. I don't know about you guys. Sometimes life lives me instead of me living my life. Sometimes it just feels like there's a bunch of responsibilities and a bunch of things to do, and I'm showing up for all my things to do. But sometimes I get to a place where I'm just disconnected. And if you've ever felt just disconnected from your life, like your body's moving, but maybe your heart's not in it anymore, or it's things that used to bring you pleasure, used to bring joy, just don't anymore, or the negative narrative in your mind, we all have that negative voice. Sometimes it just gets so loud that it's interrupting your everyday experience. If that's you, you might be stuck. You might feel stuck. And there is a way to get unstuck. And we're going to talk about that tonight. So if you are showing up for all your responsibilities and it doesn't feel good anymore, you might have signed up for the clubs and the volunteering and the extra jobs that you have because it fulfilled a purpose in you. You were learning, you were growing, or you enjoyed the people you were doing the thing with. And sometimes it just feels like, man, I used to really love this. Why does it feel bad now? Right? Or there may be drudgery in your life. Maybe there's a job situation or a relationship situation that it just stinks. And you might really not like going home to being with the people who live with you, or going to work, or maybe your house of worship experience is just awful, right? So that might be what's happening to you. And if you feel boxed in or bored, right? You might be like, man, I'm just bored with my life, right? If you feel unable to make the changes that you want in your life, you may have an idea of what you want, but you just feel stuck, right? You might be there. Okay, so what do I do? How do I get unstuck? So I normally have 3 tips for you today. I have 4. They're not, and as I always say, this is not exclusive. This is not like the only things that help you get unstuck, but these are some pretty big steps involved. Okay, so number 1, tips for getting us unstuck: assess the damage. Where is the disconnect and why? Right? If you're like, oh gosh, just nothing feels good. Okay, what's the worst thing that's happening? Well, I don't like how I have a certain experience with men, right? So that's really common in the people that I serve, the ladies that I serve. If you've experienced betrayal or trauma or abuse, many times this is domestic violence situations like the situation that I've lived through, or other childhood abuse situations where there's a certain kind of perpetrator and that has been repeated throughout your life. That might be a pattern. You're like, I'm stuck right there. Or you might have a job experience that continues to repeat, or you may have an experience with authority that continues to repeat. So wherever that is, where it's important to be still long enough to observe the trend and say, okay, I see this is happening. It's happened over and over again in this particular area. Man, I am stuck here. Okay. So that's first. And then why? Here's the thing. A lot of We don't always understand why, we don't always know why, but it's important to ask yourself that question. Why is it important to ask that question? Because it'll help you generate what's going on in your heart, even if those things you know are not true. So we all have a negative voice in our minds and hearts that tells us all sorts of bad things. And many of those things are not even true. But it is important to not just stuff it down or distract yourself from it, or ignore it. It doesn't go away when you do those things. It's just temporary reprieve, and it just comes back stronger, or something triggers it and it comes up and you didn't realize how much tension or pressure or sadness or emotion had built up in that space. And it's only because we've never allowed the release valve. Sometimes you need to be like, God, I am stuck in this place and I don't like it and I'm mad about it and I'm hurt because of it and I need to cry. Right? Like that. It's okay. It's okay. And the longer we are alive, the more of these situations that we have. And we as a culture, we as a people have become really, really skilled in avoiding and denying, especially those who have a faith walk. You don't ever want to admit that, hey, I'm really angry at God for this thing, or hey, I haven't really figured out why God didn't heal me and he healed this other person, or I'm not, whatever it is, those deep questions that we've judged as unspiritual or a lack of faith. We don't even want to admit those even to ourselves. And the problem with that is those emotions, those thoughts, those questions don't go away. And if we never bring them to surface or assess the damage, we can never resolve. Okay. So number 1 is to assess the damage. And number 2, make time. Make time. This is your life and you don't get the days back. Okay. We don't get the days back. If you won't care for you, how do you expect other people to? And that might be shots fired, a mic drop, or whatever you want to call it, but it's absolutely true. We don't get our days back. We don't get this time back. However old you are, you will never be younger than you are today, right now. So what does that mean? What are you telling me, Dallas? We often operate with the assumption we have more time than we actually do. None of us know how long we have on this planet. None of us know. And we presume that we have forever. And we don't have to heal. We don't have to get healthy physically, emotionally, spiritually, because we have forever. We don't have to deal with our crap because we have forever. And somehow we think that it's all going to magically arrange itself and we'll never have to feel our feelings, or we'll never have to address something and make it better. We'll never have to take action. Those are lies that keep us stuck. And I say us because I walk through the same things. Something that's really important for women who've been through trauma and women who haven't, like everyone, we are responsible for our own lives. We are responsible for our own experience here on this planet. Does that mean we control other people? Nope. Does that mean we control everything? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But we can divert from controlling what we do have control over because we're trying to control other people, other situations, other things. It is a distraction. It is futile, and it leaves the pieces of our lives that we can control wildly neglected. Okay? It's important to make time for yourself. Make time for your healing. Make time for stillness. Just be still. I have 2 daughters, and one of them likes to request music every time we get in the car. Every time. And she's been trying to be patient, and she'll wait a little bit. Mommy, can you turn the radio on? And sometimes you just need silence. So sometimes we turn the radio on, and sometimes I say, you know what? We're just going to be with our thoughts right now. That's important. Spend time with your thoughts. Spend time with yourself. Okay? Even if it's 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, I'm going to shut out the world and not look at the phone and be with myself. Okay? Make time. If you won't care for you, how will you expect someone else to do it? If you think of the concept of the law of sowing and reaping, we reap what we sow. We reap more than, later than. And if we want someone to care for us, we should also care for us, because it teaches the people that we love how to love us. It teaches the people that we know how to respect us. When we respect ourselves, we demand respect of others. When we care for ourselves, we demand care for ourselves from others. And it starts with us. So for those of you who have a heart cry for a companion, or you want the companion you have to care for you more, better, differently, let's start with caring for yourself more, better, and differently. Okay? Number 3, how to get unstuck. Take action. Two important phrases here. Massive action kills fear. I learned that from one of my mentors. Massive action kills fear. Massive action kills fear. So if you're afraid to do something that you know is good for you, do a whole bunch of the something. Just make a hurry and go, and don't think and don't analyze and don't measure anything. Just go, get it done. It moves you forward. And then before you know it, you're at the goal that you were so afraid to even try to get to, because you just kept moving. Okay? Massive action. And then consistent action makes change. And we know that too. We know that any big thing doesn't happen overnight. We didn't get to where we were overnight. We're not going to get to where we're going overnight. It is a progressive action. So find out, and really it comes with step 1, with assessing the damage. Okay, here's where I see myself stuck. Here's where I see the pattern. What can I do consistently that's going to make a difference? Okay. And for many of you, if you're walking out of a trauma journey, you're walking into healing after trauma, after abuse, after betrayal. A lot of that includes step number 4, telling someone for accountability. Okay. Secrets don't heal. Secrets don't heal. They just stay secrets. Once you share, once you get it off your chest and out of your head, it is so helpful. And I'm excited to share a couple of opportunities for that to happen. If you happen to live in the Tampa Bay area, we are doing something really special that I'm excited about. It is called Soul Nourish Night. It'll be on Friday, May 17th, so 1 month from now, in Largo, Florida. And it's going to be a space where you can do those things. You can get something off your chest. You can tell a trusted new friend, so someone you may not know, but someone that you can trust to share, like, hey, I feel stuck here. This has been burdening on my heart. I can't stop thinking about this thing that happened. I can't stop feeling like I'm not worthy. Like those thoughts and those emotions that just sit on us, and there's never a safe place to share. There's never a safe place just to sit and be, because you always have to keep going. You have to help the kids. You have to get them to school. You have to go to work. You have to clean the house. You have to take care of all these people, and everyone comes to you to dump. Right? So everyone comes to you because they can lean on you and you're a safe place. But where is your place where you can take off the leadership hat and the mommy hat and the career hat and the churchwoman hat and all of the perfectionism hats that we wear, and just be you and feel safe and feel loved and be seen? We're doing it. It's called Soul Nourish Night. And I want to share a fun video with you that I'm actually excited to share. I just made it. This is the video debut. Okay, you ready? I'm going to share this with you. Isn't that fun? So you can find more information at thereboundcoach.com/events. Let's see if I have that here. Yes, thereboundcoach.com/events. There it is. You can go there and get your ticket to Soul Nourish Night coming up on May 17th. That is a Friday evening, 6:30 at Largo, Florida. All the information is at thereboundcoach.com/events. So that's coming up the soonest. And even if you are not in the Tampa Bay area, but you know your healing is worth a plane ticket, we have something special coming up in September 20th through 22nd, called Sanctuary Experience. And so I want to share one testimony from someone who's experienced our Sanctuary Experience event.
Hi, I am Jamie Anderson and I'm from Nebraska. I just spent the most amazing weekend at the Sanctuary Experience. Do you know what I experienced? I experienced breakthrough. I experienced healing. I experienced sisterhood. I made lifetime friends, women of God. And you know what else I experienced? Everything on this screen. Exactly what it says. Healing, sisterhood, renewal, and fun. If you love yourself, you need to prove it, and you need to invest. Do whatever you have to do. The Lord moved chess pieces in my life for me to get here. And it was the best investment of my life. Dallas Cohen is the person who put this event on, and I honestly, it's the best investment I've ever made. If you love yourself, invest.
Okay, you can find more information about the Sanctuary Experience at thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. That is thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. Sanctuary. All the information is there. And if you're watching this, you're probably watching on a social media platform. You can reach out to me there. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Facebook, if you're somewhere else and you're watching this, you can reach out to me via that way. And I am more than happy. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to invite you and connect you to your next step in healing, in your healing journey. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. I would love to know if you're watching the replay. I'd love to know in the comments what part of this stood out to you. What steps are you going to take to get unstuck? And if I will see you at Soul Nourish Night or the Sanctuary Experience. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I appreciate you. And until next time, choose life.